the moment that somebody reflects something in you that actually hurts, and this is my own experience and with clients, is it hurts because there's a part of you that actually believes it, that doesn't want to believe.
Welcome to Coach Soul, the podcast where we explore therapeutic ways to the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Steve Hudgins. I'm a licensed professional counselor dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges. In each uplifting episode, we'll discuss mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Join me and with my co-host, Kenya Evelyn, a therapeutic life coach, where sometimes we'll even welcome special guests to our show that share their experience and expertise. So let's embark on this transformative path together and discover a healthier and happier you. Welcome to Coach Soul. And Kenya, it is a pleasure to see you as always. Summer is done. Fall is here. Colors are changing.
Good.
You get to keep your lovely tan color skin, and I become more whiter because my tan fades. And
You're so funny.
It's
I love you with the love of Jesus. You're hysterical. Okay.
That's what makes us, right? And
100%.
Here's the thing. In teaching my class, I teach a university class, master's student level course on family and marriage. And I was just, thinking about what makes us unique in a family perspective. I developed the Mosaic family systems theory, taken off blended family because there's no boundaries, there's individuality. I hear women say, well, I've lost my identity. I don't know who I am anymore. That's so important.
Yeah.
In realizing who are we, and especially if somebody does a gut punch to you, do you believe in what they say? People kind of twist things around to make themselves look better and put you down.
Yes.
And media loves to play off of that. How do we deal with something like that? Is it a duck if it quacks? Is it a duck if it barks? How do we identify who we need to be?
Oh my goodness. This entire question, it feels like that is the human journey of the existentialism of who am I? What am I resonating? What am I putting in the world? And are people getting my intentions? What is the perception? And the way I'm going to answer this question is very simple and complex at the same time. It actually depends of who you believe yourself to be at that moment. Right? And how vulnerability, and this is why I believe their podcast is very successful, because we both show up just as humans. This is my journey, y'all. If I can help one person or two or 1,000, take it. If you see somebody's name pop in the phone, depending on your state, there's an assumption of, do I want to talk to this person or not? Right? And I have a couple of people in my life that I feel like to pick up their phone, I need to be super grounded. I need to be grounded in my identity. I need to be grounded in my oneness with God. I need to be in a good state, because they come in with some kind of frequency, and they come with, and this is family members that come with this perception of that my inner child doesn't really feel safe to just be at any time. So this is part of my personal healing journey. This is where I get to be next. And off mic, we had a conversation here about, the beliefs that I hold, that our listeners hold of ourselves. It's not that it changes, but it has to do with your level of joy at that moment, right? If you're not feeling good about yourself, if you just made a mistake, if your computer just crashed, if there's so much interference, I call it in frequency language, if there's frequencies in your field that balance you off of who you know to be, you're more vulnerable And we, in our human journey, we're never not going to be vulnerable. However, the identity question we get to anchor because I believe in God, we believe in God. We get my choice of everyday belief is that even when I question who I be, who I am, I anchor in what God calls me to be, what He calls me masterpiece. He calls me his child. He calls me guided. He calls me, you're not alone. And this is part of the human journey. Long answer to a long question, and let's dive in.
When I hear about vulnerability, my book, Piece by Piece, my blended experience of a Mosaic family, I really wrestled about becoming vulnerable. And then I think about, well, who am I?
Mm.
And I thought as I'm writing this book, well, wait a minute, I'm the echo of the prayers that I whispered in the dark, the scars that I've carried without letting them define me.
Yes.
I'm the dreams I've dared to keep alive when the world says to let them go. When I think about the mosaic, I'm the mosaic of every heartbreak that tried to break me, every mercy that remade me, and every step that I took. When I couldn't see that road, staying still, I realized I am becoming shaped by God who sees not just who I am, but who I am meant to be. Vulnerable realizes, it's like cooking. We love to eat. We got to cook. We get burnt, whether it was, just accidentally, just something happens, we get burnt. But it's learning what ways can I put potholders and stop
Mhm.
myself from being burned, lower the temperature down. I love bacon. Who doesn't love bacon? I mean, I got cousins who made some bacon cupcakes and it didn't sound too good, but oh my gosh, chocolate bacon cupcakes. Now I'm getting hungry. But when you think,
Just
when
thinking
you,
about it.
yeah, how often do we allow the negative to impact us?
Yeah.
Can we be patient in our hurting? For example, I thought about this the other day in reading in a post. Somebody posted something about, being patient in our waiting. And it just came to me. I'm like, wow, Abraham and Sarah, they're the father. They're the parents of the Middle East and the Christians, the Jews. And here's what I find fascinating. God promised Abraham he would be a father of many nations, but Abraham didn't know how. Sarah became impatient and gave her concubine to Abraham, who birthed Ishmael. Now, Ishmael is the father of the Middle East, the Egyptians, the Pakistanians, the Georgia, all that over there. But he had Isaac,
Mm.
who was what? The father
Israel.
of the Jews,
Hmm.
Israel, right? His name has changed. And so when you think about these things, how much a choice of impatience has caused generations of trauma of fighting. What would happen if he would have waited? Would we've had these issues now that we currently have in the middle of the East of being uproared? I never thought about it that way.
Mm.
But when we become impatient in ourselves because we don't like terms or we get a gut punch and we try to do something about it,
Yes.
are we reflecting in a positive or are we reflecting in a hurtful stance in the way we respond to what we do?
100%. So I'm going to say both. Again,
Mm,
depending on the state that you are when you receive the perception of a gut punch, right?
okay.
The moment that somebody reflects something in you that actually hurts, and this is my own experience and with clients, is it hurts because there's a part of you that actually believes it, that doesn't want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts because you're battling with overcoming that which you judge in yourself. So in actuality, I don't need anybody. You don't need anybody to judge you. If you're already judging yourself and somebody reflects that shadow, I see it today, even today, more than last week. That is God's way of saying, look here, there is a shadow over here that you are ready to see. So we're actually called out to more billions, not by squishing the things under the rug and avoiding, but becoming more human and see that God sees every part of us. And He calls us beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So to not want to feel anger, sadness, frustration, guilt, shame, envy is to say, you know what? I don't want to be a human anymore. I just want to sin and be an angel or whatever you believe in. But if you're in this human experience, you're going to feel everything.
Mm.
And if you just allow yourself, if I just allow, if, dear listeners, if you, in that gut punch, if you don't judge, you felt it and you just be in that moment, it's okay to feel angry. Congratulations, you are a human.
Right.
Perhaps not punching someone else when you're angry or not punching the wall, channel that energy to, I don't know, punching your pillow or going to work out or just really become a master of awareness in your emotional state. What am I feeling? And why did this trigger me so much? If you, dear listeners, have the courage to ask those questions, wow, I want to be your friend. We're in this
You
journey
know, it's
together. We call arms versus blame somebody else. Can you believe she said that? Can you believe he did this? Versus, oh, someone call out something in me. Is this true? How do I feel? I'm not saying that their reflection is you. I'm saying how you react to the reflection is you.
when I hear what you're saying, our humanness gets in the way of the best part of ourselves. We immediately turn inward. And the reason that we turn inward is because we were conditioned that way by our parental figures of shame, guilt, discipline, so that we look on the inside, am I not good enough? And we learn to people please. And because we people please, we're so worried about what other people think and say and do. The secret of this is to accept your story.
Yeah,
Okay, I've been married multiple times.
exactly.
I was unhealthy at that time, meaning that I had an anxious attachment to, style that caused me to get into some relationships that were not healthy for me. At the same time, uh, I've been able to grow as a person. That's what I discuss in my book. It talks about my journey, but at the same time, helping you to identify uh, the journey that you've been on.
Yes,
And that's the whole thing. It's who are we, but being able to not compare ourselves. That's where we go wrong.
that's right.
When I start comparing myself to someone else, it looks healthy on the outside, but is it really healthy?
Mm.
Uh,
Does it really look healthy on the outside, Steve?
I mean, it's like an apple. It looks delicious on the outside until you bite in it and you find a worm. And I've
Mhm.
had that happen before,
Many times, yes.
right? And so, do we allow that to impact us?
Mm.
When we can sit still within ourselves and say, you know what? Somebody asked me, in a podcast, if I would have changed anything in my life. What is there to change? If I was to change my past, you and I would not be here talking.
No.
Okay. But what happens is like Paul was saying in Corinthians, I pray to God 3 times for this thorn in the flesh be removed from me. What he's talking about is the guilt and shame that he had when he was Saul, the persecutor of the church, killing people, murdering people. And then
Mm.
everybody accuses him he can't be a changed man. That's why in every letter he wrote, I, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, but
Yeah.
he's also given a defense and everything. And the thorn was, please remove this guilt out of my mind and God says, my grace is sufficient.
Mhm.
If God's grace is sufficient for Paul and the countless people he's murdered, isn't God's grace enough for us?
Right.
It's just learning how to receive it.
Oof.
It's being able to say, people say, well, I don't deserve God's grace. Oh, really? It may feel like it, but I tell you what, I do deserve God's grace because I don't want to be in the dark without knowing the love that
100%.
He has given.
So this is such a beautiful analogy, right? I think about God as God the Father.
Hmm.
The word calls God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. And as parents, do we really give to our children because they deserve it? Or we just adore them because they're our children? So it's not really, in my perspective, it's not a deserving as in, it's just not transactional. It's not like you're a good boy, you're a good girl, you're a good adult, you're a good woman. It's because we're one and I love you.
Hmm.
And in our humanness, in my humanness, my choice when I feel that it's hard to receive is to remember that if God says He calls me by name and I'm His daughter, then He's actually by choice, by my choice. I say in crunchy moments, teach me to receive when I feel like I shouldn't XYZ. And every time, I want to say this out loud for our listeners, every time that we humans don't feel that we are worthy in any level, worthy to be, worthy to receive, worthy to create, those are programming codes. This is not what God says.
Hmm.
He says, you're mine. I called you by name. You're not just worthy, but you're family. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no earning your identity. It's the opposite of transactional. It's pure love and ownership. So the meditation, the prayer, the awareness that I have today, and I want to offer our listeners is say it. You call it out. Call it out. I am who you say I am. And I receive it. And if I don't feel that I know how to receive it, take the how. Teach me to receive. Just because you say so. Can it be this simple, Steve?
It is simple.
Hmm.
The thing about it is we make it difficult because of what we've been taught that we're not enough.
There we go.
I talk to my clients and I I challenge them because I ask them, who are you without performing to the labels that are assigned to you? A mom, a father, a
Yeah.
son, a daughter. Take these labels away, and how do you perform? Do you know who you are? And it's funny because we point the finger. Most people point the finger because, oh my gosh, Kenya, I know what you did. And I think about, do we allow grace for those who stumble so we're not chained to the lies that tell us who we are not?
Hmm.
Forgiveness is not weakness, right? It's the refusal to let another's failure rewrite the truth of our worth.
I get to stand in resonance of what you just said and call truth in my field. Only truth stays because we all have been programmed, Steve.
Hmm.
I know that all our listeners, when they hear this right now or they watch on YouTube, they feel like, yep, and so much more. And let me tell you what they told me. And let me tell you the voices of my head. And there is a variation of, I kid you not, are you ready? The same thing is a variation of the same thing.
Mhm.
Not being good enough and therefore not being loved, being delayed, not work towards, not completing, not blah, 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 whatever the voices are. It's programming. And it's not programming as an ancestral healing because my dad, my mother, grandmother, great grandma. It's human race programming. All of us across all time and space. Every culture has a variation of that. right? You go through Asian culture and you study just a little bit. You don't even need to go too deep. They're super high achievers. They're right. They're so successful from birth and the highest level of suicide.
Hmm.
Why? Because they don't know how to fail. They think of not being XYZ means my life is not worthy. My life doesn't matter. If I can't make it X, then I better not live. Are you serious? God
And
says, who you are, who you be, you are, my breath is in you. Let's take a breath to think about that. My breath is in you. I am the breath of God. Wow.
that's so profound because I wrote, I am the breath of Yahweh. Because I identify that's who I am. I am a child of God. I am his breath. And that is the root foundation that helps me to identify, shed light on the stories. It's almost like having reading a book in the dark, but his breath is like that book light to show me the words that I can read in the dark. And so oftentimes these stories that we tell ourselves, it makes us live in the cages. And when we think about these stories, they were written in fear or a failure, as you said
Yes,
earlier. And I'm calling on our listeners, it's time to tear out these pages because change
100%.
begins the moment we refuse to keep reading the lies and dare to write a truer ending.
Yeah.
It's understanding that, you know, stop believing in the lies because under our identity is this belief system. And 90% of that belief system, whether we believe in God or not, the education, how we were raised by our parents, our friends, our work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, social media says we're not good enough.
We believe in something, right, Steve? There's something. There's something that we all can resonate when we listen to this podcast. If you don't call it God, you call it, there's a reason why we're called seekers. We're seeking to know, we're seeking. And that which has given the world love and life, I know by personal experience that is God.
Mm.
And whatever your experience is, I pray that you find it. And you find that your identity is not in what you create in this world. What are you trying to prove? How about that question? What are you
Mm.
trying to prove? Right? That is not your identity. But if
Are
you
we trying
believe
to
it,
prove our existence?
exactly.
When the world tries to snuff us out,
Yeah.
and that's something that we can continue in another podcast is what is it that we're trying to prove?
And
And
I want to
and
get and I want to get political, okay, Steve? I'm just saying next podcast I want to, because the separation, and I'm not talking America, I'm from Brazil, of the world is that what I'm trying to prove and what labels, what roles, it is weakening our immune system, is
Mhm.
weaken our relationship with each other, with God, with Gaia, with everything. In my experience, from where I'm sitting, from my perspective, my own personal life, mother, coach, women, all the things. This is not serving us. And I want to bring back to how you started this podcast. I love your book name because what if the mosaic is not just the families that have been once labeled blended, because it kind of feels like a Vitamix, right?
Right.
Nobody has nothing. It's all a blah. But society and every culture, I mean, there a pure American? Hello. My kids are half Brazilian, half Portuguese, half whatever, American, half all the things. So how we describe ourselves, if we didn't have the urge to describe ourselves as Democrats and Republicans and blah, 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 then we can be a human race of connection for the greater good of God and what we're creating in this world out of the truth that we're connected. We're all connected.
Oh, for sure. We all bleed red. We all have the breath of Yahweh. It's the choice to choose to live according to our definition of who he defines us to be. And so until next time, take care and God bless.
So much love.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Coach Soul. As we wrap up, we want to remind our listeners of a few key points. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content shared here is based on professional opinion but may not apply to everyone's situation. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your mental health care. If you're in a crisis, please seek immediate professional help or contact a crisis hotline. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapist-client relationship. For personal advice, please consult with your licensed mental health professional in your area. Remember, your mental health journey is unique. While we hope this information is helpful, it is crucial to work directly with the qualified personnel for your specific needs. Thank you again for tuning in to Coach Soul, and we'll see you next time.